This episode of the podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/lightscameranonsense. Visit patreon.com/lightscameranonsense to help support your favorite new movie podcast. Now, let's roll that reel.
Yeah. What is it? This is episode 50, isn't it?
This is 50. This is the big 5-0.
The 50 official episodes.
Yes.
Because we've had
LCN.
of LCN, yeah. Not counting
We had 20 of
the first one. Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lights, Camera, Nonsense, where we give you all the latest movie magic you may have missed. I'm Nick, more of a cat lover, but I'm not willing to skin dogs, man. Simmons.
And I'm Zach Bighead Smith.
Aw, it's only slightly larger than average. Come on, man. And on Saturday, May 29th, 2021, let's dive into the previews. But before we do that, you can head on over to patreon.com/lightscameranonsense and donate as low as $1 to help support your favorite new movie podcast. Or, if you'd like to wear special merch to help support your favorite new movie podcast, you can head on over to store.lightscameranonsense.com, where we got all these great selection of shirts and posters and mugs. Do you drink coffee, Zach?
Too much. Too much coffee do I drink.
Do you drink it in a special limited edition Lights Camera Nonsense mug?
I don't, but that's because I'm stupid.
Yeah,
so don't be like me and be stupid.
You're an idiot, Zach.
It doesn't taste as good as it could.
You can unlock all the special flavors in your coffee by buying Lights Camera Nonsense mugs at store.lightscameranonsense.com.
You won't believe it. It's nonsensical. Whoa.
That's it. That's the last time you're in the intro. That's the last time you're adding your 2 cents. Zach, what have you been watching?
Just for the record, you pulled me into that, so you got what you deserve.
No, that's fair. That's fair. That's what I get for trusting you with the rigmarole.
So first up, it's my weekly Bad Batch update, but actually there's nothing to say. It's still good. Good cameo in episode 4 from The Mandalorian. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's less of a cameo actually, and more of like they're an active participant in the episode. So that's
like a Saw Gerrera in Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly like that.
Okay.
Just a different person. Because they already had Saw. But yeah, still good. And then the other thing I watched of smaller consequence is Casey and I sat down and watched the Friends reunion.
Hey,
episode.
Me too.
Hey.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way.
Clap, clap, clap.
Clap, 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 clap.
Yeah, so it's just I don't know how you don't know what this is, but yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's just a kind of similar to the Fresh Prince reunion that they did on the same service, actually, where they have all the old cast come back and kind of discuss the
cultural
history
impact
they have with the show
yeah.
and their feelings associated with it and everything. And overall, yeah, I'd say it was if you like the show or have any passing interest, I think most of it is pretty good. And pretty interesting. A lot of it is centered on the 6 main cast, obviously. As soon as one part of the show showed up, though, I was like, "Oh man, Nick's gonna be so fucking angry."
Do you know? I think we're on the same page.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we can say it. It's not like a spoiler.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler. So the show, it's an hour and a half, and the show is divided between like these sit-down retrospectives with the whole cast, and like kind of documentary style interviews with the production team. Mm-hmm. And then the third part is, I guess they did some sort of interview where James Corden was the host of this like backyard interview / party session.
Yeah. It's like at the end of every season of Survivor or Big Brother where they have like
a wrap-up
audience.
show. Yeah, exactly. It's
James
definitely
Corden.
Yes. Well, one, you hate him.
My neighbors now know exactly how much I don't like James Corden because I yelled at the top of my lungs as soon as he showed up. I'm like, James Corden, come on! You think because he's got a late night show and he's a host and everybody loves him that he's fucking funny? He's not.
Well, and just straight up, it's the worst part of the show.
He's not a good interviewer.
It's not good. It drags the whole thing down anytime, unless it was like they had the actors who played
the
Ross
side
and
characters.
Monica's parents.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They showed up in the crowd, and they did have the two of the creators in the crowd as well. And that was interesting. They had some like kind of heartfelt moments. That was good.
Yeah.
But then they do like this weird fashion show that's supposed to be fun, but it's like
Very cringy.
people who like Justin Bieber comes
Cara
out
Delevingne.
just as a potato. Yeah, it's very strange. Like they're not associated with the show at all. It's just like clearly, oh, here's a celebrity for you to associate, and it's very strange. And yeah, the majority of it is just fucking awful and drags the whole thing down.
I could honestly watch like them playing the trivia game.
Yes,
for the entire hour and a half.
That was really fun.
That would have been fun.
That any of the stuff with them sitting around and talking about their experiences on the show is really good. I really enjoyed all the production stuff because at that point it is a documentary, so it's really interesting to kind of see the casting process and like what they were thinking during like certain seasons of the show. So all that is really good. If you're obviously a fan, and if you're not, why are you watching this anyway?
Yeah.
It's just that one weird segment that it takes up like a third of the thing that with like James Corden.
Commit to doing one like format for that reunion. Do one or the other. I would have rather had just like you the behind the scenes stuff because I learned stuff about the show that I never knew. The interview stuff, that's questions that I guarantee you they were asked hundreds and hundreds of times 10 years ago when the show ended.
I think there's only like 2 questions that, and granted, I think there's really only 4 questions that get asked anyways. So most of the rest of the time spent is on the inane bullshit like the fucking fashion show and whatnot. There's only 2 questions that I think is might be news to anyone, and it's the question about the monkey being apparently a fucking nightmare shocking.
Yeah.
A monkey is a nightmare to record a show with.
He had shit fingers all over my face.
And then I guess there was something between Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer in terms of like kind of
there was an actual romance.
Never right time, right place sort of thing between them. And the monkey thing was funny, and that was interesting because it segued more into that behind the scenes stuff.
The script
we were talking about. So anytime it segued into that sort of thing, I could feasibly see the point of having it there, or at least it was being utilized correctly. Otherwise, it was just like, please just get James off my screen, please.
Get Exactly. Okay, so we're all in agreement. James Corden is the worst. Go watch Peter Rabbit 2 on June 11th. Fucking lemmings. Children.
And if it makes you feel any better, I this specifically made me see what you're talking about when you're like, because I'll be honest, before now I think I've seen maybe like 2 or 3 minutes of any James Corden show, interview, whatever.
You're seeing clips on YouTube or whatever.
My experience with him was when he was a bit part in Doctor Who for like 3 or 4 separate episodes.
Right.
He plays a certain character, and the character's really good. So that's all I was attaching to him. Having seen him now in an interview context, that's rough.
He's a good performer. He's a good performer.
Sure, yeah.
He is not a good host or interviewer.
Yeah,
I love how this just became like a Corden roast fest.
It did a little bit, but it's eye opening for me. I want you to know that you're not alone here.
Thank you.
Just because it seemed like he always was trying to turn it back on himself or something. I don't know. It was very strange. But anyway, that's all that to say is that's the worst part of the reunion episode, but everything else is good.
I still teared up for certain moments of that.
There's rough stuff. There's stuff like Matthew Perry talking about like his near deadly level of anxiety and on performing on the show. And if you know anything about his history with addiction, directly correlating to his part in that, there's some puzzles or some puzzle pieces that are being kind of connected there. So yeah, there's some rough parts in there too.
Seeing the I think we both have read or seen interviews where when actors are asked if they've seen the movie that they're in or they've seen their past works, and they're asked like, what do you take on what is your take on your performance or what have you? It's like most actors will say like, oh, I watched the movie, it was really great, but they never really comment on their own performance. And I can't remember if it was Matthew Perry or if it was Matt LeBlanc who said that they don't watch their own stuff.
I think it was Matthew Perry.
They literally do not watch anything. They have never watched the show Friends.
Yeah, it might have actually been David.
That makes sense.
It's hard to tell. I do know that Jennifer Aniston and Matt LeBlanc were the ones who were the only ones who said that they had watched the show all the way through and had they definitely seem to remember the most about the show, whereas everyone else kind of they were saying they skipped whole seasons, and with the Matthew Perry thing, he's been on record talking about how seasons 4 to 6 were the roughest time in his life ever. So I can't imagine he'd probably want to revisit any of that anyway.
Of course.
It was interesting to hear that little tidbit about how little most of them watch of it.
Yeah. Just it's kind of eye-opening, and it sets up a certain perspective. I mean, most people will tend to watch the stuff that they're in, and holy crap, my picture is askew.
It is. It's crooked.
I'm fixing that. What is the other thing you watched? I'm not going to listen.
Yeah, so I guess rolling off that, it's just fix your damn picture.
Okay.
You're good to go. So all that to just say, if you enjoyed the show Friends when it was airing initially, you're probably going to enjoy the majority of this. It's exactly what it sounds like on the tin. There's nothing surprising there. And for some people, like Casey, my wife, she said it was nice to at least have closure.
Yeah.
Because we've had years and years of when's there going to be a new Friends show, or when's there going to be a reunion or a movie or whatever, and this seems pretty final nail in the coffin. No, this
that
is
sounds
what you're
negative.
getting. Well, I mean,
they even asked the stupid Peter Rabbit guy asked Gwyneth Paltrow or whatever her name is, Lisa Kudrow. Why'd I think that? The rabbit asked the Goop lady. No, asked Lisa Kudrow, would you ever be interested in coming back for a sequel or a movie? And Lisa Kudrow looked at the creators of the show, and she's just like,
no.
No, everyone ended up with a pretty much happy ending. So why would you want to?
Yeah.
You would have to come up with a reason.
That was a really interesting take on it, because it totally makes sense when you think about all the reunion stuff. Because if you're just new take new episodes or come back, if you take a show that ended 15 years ago on theoretically everyone on a happy note, but you want to do a new show years and years after that show has ended, you have to unravel all those endings.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pretty decent, or it was a good thought on that, why you wouldn't want to go back and touch it. And so yeah, they just straight up said, yeah, it's done. Like, this is it. If you were wanting any other friend related stuff, you either have to go back and watch the episodes that are available to stream on HBO Max.
All right. Okay.
I'm hoping maybe if I just give the air of having a sponsor will appear.
I don't think Chad Warner is gonna sponsor this podcast. Let's just be honest.
Or you just got to be happy with the fact that you at least got this reunion special. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on to the last thing I watched. I watched the entire first season of Hulu's MODOK.
Yay! So did I. Why am I doing? What is this? This is Wallace and Gromit. Yay! Cheese Gromit. That wasn't good.
No, that was good.
Cheese Gromit. I can't do a British accent.
So the second one was worse.
Oh. Cheese Gromit. Sorry.
Yeah, you're just getting progressively worse each time.
So what'd you think?
So Hulu's MODOK. It is like the second surviving Marvel Hulu show that, well, it made it to air. Hellstrom is now dead.
But they finished the first season. We'll just have to
I
see.
know, that's what I was saying. Those two, Hellstrom and MODOK, are the ones that made it to air because they were also going to do...
What about Runaways? Cloak and Dagger?
No, separate from all that.
Oh, Cloak and Dagger wasn't Hulu.
Way before they started, like... They reshuffled all of the Marvel television stuff. Mm-hmm. They had the 4 shows, I think it was. It was going to be MODOK, Hellstrom, Ghost Rider, and there's one more that I can't think of.
I'll look it up. I think it's... I'll look it up. You keep going.
But yeah, so Hellstrom and MODOK were the only 2 of those to survive, and then Hellstrom came out and it was a fucking trash fire from what I understand. So MODOK's pretty much the last one standing of those Hulu Marvel shows.
Was it?
Did you find it?
No, I didn't find it, but I'm trying to remember. Wasn't it Howard the Duck? Or it was something like that. Hold on. I'll keep looking. You keep going.
Yeah, so MODOK is an animated show that it concerns MODOK, the big head in a space floating device.
Mechanical organism designed only for killing.
Only for killing, yes. But they take it from just like a straight up, like, a comic book show and turn it into like a sort of Robot Chicken-esque / Family Guy sort of riff on your typical nuclear family. So it's all about MODOK's crumbling marriage and his terrible relationship with his kids, and the fact that these problems are there because of the way he is. It just kind of, it's, ridiculous situations that they find themselves in.
The Gifted?
That was separate, I think. Yeah. That sounds like, I think that was still a thing.
That's an X-Men show. Thing. Yeah, that's still a thing. I'll keep going. I'll keep looking.
Yeah, yeah, that's the general setup, and then the first season is the narrative of him being displaced out of his own kind of villainous company, AIM, that gets taken over by a tech company, a la Google or something like that, Facebook.
Beck Bennett was the best casting for that character, by the way. Beck Bennett from SNL.
Yes,
he does the voice for this, like not Mark Zuckerberg, but like this. Hey, I'm this new tech CEO that's here to take over your company. Actually, I could have been casted on that role. Never mind.
But like outwardly nice, but internally evil, sort of thing. Yeah, definitely, he's very good. And then alongside of that, you have him again dealing with the fact that his marriage is crumbling. He has to end up moving out, and the relationship he has with his kids. Did you find it?
Yeah, it was Howard the Duck and Tigra and Dazzler.
I think Tigra is the one I was trying to remember.
It was Tigra,
so there were
and
quite
Dazzler.
A few.
And then there was Hitmonkey as well.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there were more than the 4, but of those, all that, only 2 of them made it to production. Yeah. And like I said, Hellstrom was it's not a thing anymore, so you don't even have to worry about it. Yeah. So anyway, getting away from just kind of general synopsis of the show. Yeah, it's pretty good. For a kind of a lower tier, I guess, expectation going into it.
With like zero expectation from me.
Yeah. Below zero, you could even say. It becomes kind of this, not sentimental, but
You're just pleasantly surprised anytime there's actually a good, funny moment in that show. Because like especially after the first couple episodes, you're like, oh, there's a storyline.
There's good bits. Well, and there's good bits too. Occasionally, I could probably count on one hand the number of times that I was like dying laughing, or maybe not even that. Just like a hearty laugh. But most of the laughs in this are pretty like or, that kind of thing. It's a lot of it having to do with like little nods to like they have fucking arcade in there and shit.
Dude, they dug in deep for this show. Like they're like, we have nothing to lose with using MODOK as the main protagonist. So just like bring in the Viltrumites, bring in arcade, bring in I mean Marvel Man.
They have all the like D tier villains that he meets in the pub,
like Z tier, Melter, and like I was looking up these characters as they were being introduced. I was constantly pausing certain episodes because I'm like, I need to find out who this character is because they're never gonna show up in a comic book, movie, or TV show again. So
it's like they weren't given free reign exactly, but they were like, you have free reign up to this level, and they went, okay, we're gonna use everything below that.
Yeah, they pulled a James Gunn, and they're like, all right, fuck it, man, let's dig in deep. Like somebody was a huge MODOK fan or a huge Marvel fan who's just I mean,
Patton Oswalt, who's the voice of MODOK, is a notable comic nerd, as it were. So he has his own kind of inclinations into the subject matter anyway. But they do the stuff too where it's like, oh my god, I can't believe you killed that guy. He was an Avenger, but we don't need to say his name because we all know who it is. And I can't believe you killed him. And on the ground, it's clearly Hawkeye's costume. So there's good bits like that. It's just a pleasantly like low stakes fun ride.
The Seagramites. That's what I meant. Not Viltrumites, but the Seagramites, the non-stop party
animals.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so there were a lot of funny moments. Would you recommend it to the casual Marvel fan or the casual TV fan?
I think if you are, I think it's more of an issue of whether or not your humor is in line with what it is. So if you don't like kind of the robot chicken humor, like at times very crass and violent, I guess.
It's not hard R. It doesn't go like heavy into it, much like a Deadpool or anything. But it's just a step behind that.
It's robot. I mean, it's right below that. Yeah.
They still rip people in half in this show.
They do. And like there's the obvious subject matter is like it's an adult show, so it's not really that surprising anything that shows up, but it is going to depend on your sensibilities and whether or not you find that kind of humor funny, because they'll do like those drawn out meta jokes too, like I don't even know how to explain it, where they're clearly referencing something, but then they like fixate on it, like just for a while.
Yeah.
It's sort of, I guess the closest thing I can think of is like sort of Adventure Time humor. That I think that's the closest thing I can come up with in terms of those.
You would have to give me an example. I can't.
Yeah, and I can't think of one off the top of my head. It's a very. It's not full slapstick, but it's not full deadpan either. Yeah. It's like right in the middle there. They employ numerous ways of going about things.
It actually reminds me a lot of another Hulu show that was also produced by Seth Green. It was the like fantasy show where everyone looks like a Playmobil character. I'll look it up. Ooh, I misspelled that. But it was very, it had the same type of humor where it was very R-rated, and there was just like, there was cursing, there was nudity, even though they're little toy characters, and then there's gore and everything. I am drawing a blank. But I watched the entire first season, and like even that had a holy fuck main storyline and everything, but it also tried to toe the line between the humor and the violence while also trying to tell a endearing story.
Yeah.
And so it's just you have to be in the right mood for it, and that's what I like to call the robot chicken mood or the late night cartoon mood.
And yeah, all the performances are great. You know, you have Patton Oswalt, obviously. Ben Schwartz is
he feels miscast.
His son. Oh man, no way! He was my favorite part of the fucking show.
No, he's great. Like his delivery and I think he did everything right. But I think that like his voice doesn't really match the character of the kid.
But how much of that is just you going, "Oh, that's Ben Schwartz," because Ben Schwartz has a very distinct voice, and
exactly that's what it was. That's what it was, and the daughter too, because I've been watching so much Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I'm like, well, that's just. Are you kidding me? That's Amy Santiago from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was.
There was one person.
Stephanie Beatriz.
I can't remember who it was now. There was one person who I was like, that just sounds like Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And then it ended up not being her, so... Or no, it was, no, this is totally not the right show. It was, Lake Bell in Harley Quinn plays Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
And she had a very similar cadence to how that character is on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so... I was a little surprised to find out that wasn't her. But anyways, that discussion didn't matter at all. Yeah, I would recommend it. It's a very easy watch. You can finish in like a day.
Yeah. It's only 10 episodes?
I think it's... Oh, yeah. It's 10. It's 10. 10 episodes, all like 20 minutes. So pretty quick watch, and can't find it.
I can't find that Playmobil... hard R-rated Hulu show, but you'll know it when you see it if you're scrolling through Hulu. Same type of humor. It doesn't matter. Shit! Fuck! Stub my...
right there.
Yeah, I hit the edge of my desk with my fingernail, and it hurts. What else you got to... Wow. What a train wreck of an episode.
So the last thing I'll say about it is I don't know how you feel, and while I did enjoy it, I'm not like actively like awaiting a season 2. Like if and when it does get a season 2, I'll be like, oh, that's cool, that's pretty good. But it's not like Harley Quinn, where like after having finished that up to the through the finale of the recent season, where I'm like, I absolutely want more of that. The minute that drops, I'm watching episode 1 for sure. Whereas with this, it's kind of like, okay, if you get more, cool. I will watch it at some point, but I don't know how quick I'll get to it.
Yeah, you're not clamoring
what's
for
around it at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you had different or similar feelings.
No, I mean, I was very interested to see where the story goes, because they leave it on a cliffhanger. It almost seems like they were really pushing for another season, so they leave this cliffhanger as a cliffhanger because they're like, this is the only way we'll get a season 2 is if people commit to the show. But I've been hearing a lot of reviewers who are like, I could not stick with the show.
Really?
Like, they couldn't even, they didn't really get into it. We are kind of more on the positive end as opposed to a lot of what people have been saying that I've been reading. But you know, I think we've pretty much covered the base that if you enjoy that humor and that type of animation, it's got a lot of great deep Marvel.
Yeah, well, in terms of the animation, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, like it's all done with puppets, and you know, again, similar to robot animation or robot chicken animation, where it's kind of like mixed between puppet and like almost claymation sort of.
Yeah.
And you know the work that goes into all that, and this is a pretty visual heavy show too, so they did a lot of work on that. But yeah, it looks great. I did have someone text me though and say like, oh man, I just watched a trailer for that Hulu show MODOK, and that looks god awful. So I don't know if it's just a difference of opinion.
So I mean, it's not for everyone, but yeah, what are you gonna do? We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff that I watched that is not for everyone. That I think.
Yeah, well, that was it for me. So if you want to take the wheel, drive us off the ledge, as it were.
Okay, so we didn't have an episode last week because fuck it.
Life happens.
Yeah. So I've watched quite a bit since then, and I'm gonna briefly go through a couple of different shows and movies, and then I will end up on the things that kind of stuck with me that I want to talk about.
Yes. Hit me with all of your stuff. Bukkake it all over my face.
Nope. We're not gonna do that. We need way more men. We need way more men for that.
That's the episode title.
No, that's gonna be so confusing. The wrong people are gonna click it and watch the show. I don't know, man. We're gonna get so many thumbs downs for this episode. Thumbs down?
There's not nearly as much Bukkake in this as I envisioned.
Well, now wait a minute.
The episode title was called "We Need More Men for Bukkake." I don't understand how there's no Bukkake in this.
No, that would get flagged immediately. So.
Of course it would.
So, I finished the Nevers, and the season finale for the Nevers. If you haven't been watching, it kind of takes place in this alternate 20th century London where certain people in London after an event start to develop and show powers, and it kind of throws the entire society for a loop, and the patriarchy and the government and all the people in power are like, oh, we need to stop this, or oh, what's going on? And it's all led by a woman who has been the head of this orphanage, who's trying to keep all of these, mostly women, but also some men, safe from society. And there's a lot of underlying tones of racism, classism, just society being shit that is kind of parallel to where we are as a society today. You know,
it's like Victorian X-Men. Right?
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. That's the elevator one-liner pitch. It's like Victorian X-Men. All right, Joss Whedon, you got it. You're a cool guy that has no problems or issues. Not. Yeah, no. Which, by the way, more than one episode was directed by him, so he had active development for the entire first season. Not just the first episode and then left.
That is not how I understood it.
He is no longer attached to the show, but he did direct and develop throughout the series. So
gotcha.
Take all of that into account, I guess, if you want to. But the season finale takes quite a turn because it starts off in a post-apocalyptic future, and you're like, what the fuck, am I watching the right show? There's aliens, and there's a civil war going on, and holy shit, who is this person? And oh crap, she's traveling back in time, and she is the character we've been following the whole time. Sorry, spoiler alert for the season finale, but it's at the very beginning of the episode. Anyway.
Well, yeah, but you gotta get through the whole series to get to the last episode.
I'm not being. Hey, listen, I'm not saying characters' names. I'm just saying. Look.
I think you're the only person that watched it.
I'm trying to hype up the show because I want it to continue. This is Carnival Row all over again, and I know we are getting a season 2 for Carnival Row. I don't know when that's going to be. I just know that the original showrunner / creator is not attached to it, and so that makes me sad. Different case for this, because I don't want the original showrunner and creator attached to this. So
Please
it's weird.
Stay away.
Please get away from me. Actually, yeah, no. I highly recommend it. It's only 8 episodes, and it is already technically been renewed for a second part of this season, because it's only 8 episodes, and they're calling it part 1.
The Sopranos deal.
Yeah. Well, or any
Sex in the City, Game of Thrones.
Even AMC with Walking Dead and some of their other shows, they've been developing them in part 1, part 2s to help.
Yeah, I just know that was a very big HBO thing.
Oh yeah,
the offset.
But this is like starting off with season 1 as opposed to waiting for an audience to build for this show, because I think at least the HBO executives are expecting this to be very popular, but. I highly recommend it because it's something unique and different and not based off of anything. It's not a sequel or a property of DC or Marvel or Disney or what have you. And I think it's interesting, and I think people should check it out. It is confusing, and you will have a new question at the end of every episode. but but they do get
that-
answered. It's not
Okay,
I was gonna say it's not a
It's not a mystery box situation.
no, it's not produced
JJ.
by J.J. Abrams. No, but they're interesting questions that you want to learn about, and a lot of the characters are cute, adorable, fun, interesting. They've got unique and convoluted backstories. There's a detective cop Jim Gordon type character who's in the show that I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this guy. He seems like an asshole at the first episode, and by season 1 finale's ending, I was just like, I'm rooting for this guy. Let's do it. So I'm hyped. I'm interested. I want to know when the next part of the show will come out. Didn't think I would spend that much time on that. I also started watching Solos on Amazon Prime Video, which is a science fiction anthology series where each episode has it's like one actor in it, and that's it.
Oh wow!
And each episode stars at like a different actor, and it takes I need to get the log line or something for it, but it basically is like an introspective look into human nature and society's effect on them. Hold on,
It's like it sounds like Twilight Zone, but just limited to one person.
Exactly, yeah. And I have a good feeling that this was developed last year during the pandemic. And before we can make a joke about Solos not being about Han Solo and Princess Leia growing up, or like having Ben and like the couple of years before he gets sent off to the Jedi Academy.
Family ties sort of thing.
Yeah. No, oh my gosh. So it's a TV show on Amazon Prime, and Wikipedia is being a bitch about this right now. First episode stars Anne Hathaway trying to find... and they're all short. They're all like 30 minutes or less.
Anne Hathaway, that's interesting. That's a pretty big...
Well, and the second episode is Anthony Mackie, who's been in every science fiction streaming movie or TV show.
He's a sci-fi guy now.
Dude, he was in Synchronicity, which I highly recommend. We didn't talk about it, but that's a fucking movie about time travel where he's traveling back, and like he's been in all of these different things. I'm like, Anthony Mackie, get out of my life, man. You're already in Marvel. You're already Captain America. Why can't you just let everyone else have these roles? Morgan Freeman is in this. I highly recommend it. It's only a handful of episodes, and they ask a lot of interesting questions, and it's a unique idea and spin and take on like a cool, unique format. It's just like it's one actor
Something
either
different,
acting against themselves or acting with props or the environment that they're in. And Amazon Prime Video has all of these hidden gems. Just quick tirade. All of these unique shows that they don't like really advertise anywhere except on like the sides of buses and like maybe if you're perusing, buying some plates off of Prime. Yeah. So if you have Amazon Prime, download Amazon Prime Video and just check out like some of their original content, because there is a lot of great shows and movies that people are missing out on. Just saying, like Uncle Frank.
Yeah,
highly recommend that.
We had a similar combo a couple weeks ago in which you appropriated a certain show to Prime. But it will be interesting to see, because they're terrible at advertising their shows, and now they've got fucking MGM.
Yeah, that was news that broke out this week, where they bought MGM for $8.6 billion. A lot of money. Right, basically, all of I want to use this because it sets the gravity of the amount of money that they spent. But Disney spent $4.2 billion on Marvel and like $4.0 billion on Star Wars altogether. So it was like Marvel and Star Wars combined equals the total amount for MGM that Amazon bought it for.
And initially that was what was going around. I will say I did see a thing after the fact that with inflation, the Marvel deal and the Disney deal combined.
Well, you know why there's inflation in the first place, right?
Yes, slightly higher. But that being said, that's still
a lot of money for
that's a lot of money for kind of owning James Bond.
Yeah, it's actually just owning a major stake in MGM.
Yeah.
And we have already talked about it both offline and on the podcast about their library and how there really isn't one. Like film series, we're looking at James Bond, Pink Panther, Rocky, which includes Creed, Legally Blonde, Barbershop, Poltergeist, which, where the fuck are you on that? We don't...
Well, they did it, and it sucked.
No, we don't have to talk about that one. I just mean, like, we can... and then we got Andy Hardy, The Broadway Melody, Maisie, Dr. Gillespie. You know, those classics.
Of course, yes.
8 billion.
Yeah, so, yeah, it will be interesting to see how they reconcile the fact that they're shit at advertising their content with the fact that they are, whether or not your value of the content they are getting is, in line with what they think it is. They are getting an influx of content, so... Not
to mention, maybe they're trying to, like, recoup their costs from spending so much money on the Lord of the Rings series.
That won't come out? Yes.
Yeah. But, I mean, they gained a lot of, not notoriety, but popularity with shows like Invincible. Solo is a 7-part anthology series that explores the strange, beautiful, heartbreaking, hilarious, wondrous truths of what it means to be human. So there you go. That was the synopsis.
It's such a Black Mirror byline.
I know, yeah. The Boys.
It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing as Black Mirror, except replace like heartwarming with depressing as fuck.
Yeah, it's more like you come out of every episode going, oh, instead of.
Oh. That was actually now that you say that was probably their elevator pitch was Black Mirror, but not depressing,
but not sad. Like technology can be pretty cool. But yeah, One Night in Miami, The Expanse. You've got Borat, Coming to America. A lot of they had several movies that came out last year that were nominated for Academy Awards. So there is potential there. There are movies and TV shows that people are missing. So. I mean, we could be just talking into the ether like everyone is already checking out Prime Video, and they're like, what are you talking about? But I don't ever hear of people checking out a movie or TV show that's originally on Amazon Prime Video.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, did you check out Netflix or what came out on Netflix this week? Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody has.
I've been watching HBO Max all weekend.
Yeah, which is ironic because Prime Video has been out longer than HBO Max. But they have a better library, so fuck. All right, moving on. Solos is great. You should check it out. You can watch it all in a day as well. And you got a 3-day weekend, so get to it. I also watched Those Who Wish Me Dead on HBO Max and also in theaters, starring Angelina Jolie as I think smoke jumper is what they're called. But basically they come in after a huge forest fire and try to recover and save as many people as they can. They're like the emergency helo jumpers.
Yeah, this was the movie I thought you were going to tell me you had seen in theaters when you actually saw Spiral.
Right, we talked about that last week. So I kind of wish I had, but at the same time, I kind of wish I didn't because it was just kind of a okay movie. Like it's a thriller about a young boy who has to escape 2 assassins who are coming after him for knowing dark political secrets, and the little boy bumps into Angelina Jolie, who's been reassigned to a watchtower in the middle of like I can't remember if it was Wyoming or something, but like a forest, and they're like, oh, okay, we need to escape these assassins. By the way, the assassins play like twin brothers, but it's Nicholas Hoult and Aidan Gillen, Littlefinger and Beast from the X-Men prequel trilogy. So I'm like, there's like a 30-year difference. What the fuck are you guys doing? I'm not high enough for this.
Sorry to derail you a little bit. Is it bad that when you say Nicholas Hoult, my first thought is not Beast from X-Men?
Is it? It's Warm Bodies?
The guy, the zombie from Warm Bodies.
Well, like, yeah, because that wasn't even like a breakout role for him.
No, but it was like the first.
I would even say like if you had said
he had to be in something before Warm Bodies, right?
Yeah, let's look up his. Let's look him up. I'm on IMDb.
But I feel like that was his movie. But First Class came out before Warm Bodies.
No, technically he was in About a Boy. That was his first role.
That's true. Yes, he was in that with Hugh Grant. Right?
Yes.
No, that's not right. Yes. Yeah.
Wait, Hugh Grant?
No, it's not right. I didn't say that. Who said Hugh Grant?
Are you sure? Are you sure? About a Boy. It is Hugh Grant. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry.
See, that guy who said Hugh Grant was right.
I confuse Hugh Grant with Colin Firth sometimes.
Ah, yes.
Like
brunette Brits. It's easy.
Brunette Brits who were like in a lot of romantic comedies back in the day. Yeah. So I'm looking at his filmography. Let's think of like the first big one, because like he did About a Boy, which he was a boy in that. He was the boy. He was in The Weatherman, starring Nicolas Cage. I wouldn't say that's a breakout role for him, though.
Yeah.
He was in Skins, which is probably the breakout role for him in the UK. And then he was in A Single Man, starring Colin Firth.
Oh yeah.
I knew he was in a movie with Colin fucking Firth.
There you go.
I forgot he was in the Clash of the Titans reboot or remake. He played Eusebius.
Yeah.
I would say in America it would probably be First Class. It would be First Class because not a lot of people watch Clash.
And then he did Warm Bodies, and then it was Days of Future Past.
Don't forget Jack the Giant Slayer.
I did, and I will.
Yeah, and then he did Days of Future Past, Mad Max, Apocalypse.
To be fair, Mad Max, he's like, unless you're looking at his lips, you're like, oh.
Why are you looking at Nicholas Holt's lips?
He has very distinct lips. I don't know.
I'm going to talk to your wife after this.
She'll probably agree with me. Like, oh, yeah.
He really
He does have distinct lips.
Yeah. So, I forgot what we were fucking talking about. Oh, yeah. Those Who Wish Me Dead. It's pretty good. It's written and directed by Taylor Sheridan, who we talked about last week, that I thought would have a better pedigree because he wrote and directed Hell or High Water, which is fantastic. He's known for writing westerns, and this is for some reason considered as one. It's okay. You can miss it. Check out Angelina Jolie and Eternals instead when that comes out. Talked about MODOK. Okay, we're in the final three. So, a movie came out last week. That was a pretty big deal for a lot of people. And I'm surprised you didn't watch it and want to talk about it. Army of the Dead? Yeah. We're gonna talk about it. Army of the Dead.
I did plan on watching it. I just didn't do it. Yeah.
It's written, or not written by. Let's actually look that up.
It's definitely directed by.
It is directed by Zack Snyder. It's also the 7th highest viewed movie on Netflix of all time, which is sad. It is written by Zack Snyder as well as Joby Harold and Shay Hayton.
So before you get too far into your breakdown on it, I will say that up until, like 300, and even past that, I think most people would say Snyder's Dawn of the Dead is actually a pretty good zombie flick.
It is a good zombie flick. I would say that the time that has passed, the success that he has had, the now cult-like following that he has with certain viewers due to the Justice League drama, has caused him to develop some sort of ego. And I say this with all the respect in the world because I still enjoy a large majority of his films. I am one of the few people who watches his films that think that Guardians of Ga'Hoole is actually a very good movie.
Well, to be fair, you're one of the few people that watched Guardians of Ga'Hoole.
I think people are missing out on that fucking beautiful ass.
It was a very pretty movie.
Like, go back and watch that on a 4K TV now, and that's glorious. And I watched that in 3D, folks, back when that was a thing. Right. Anyway, long story short, let's talk about owls. Zack Snyder, yes, originally broke out with Dawn of the Dead and then went on to make 300, Justice League, Sucker Punch. He's known for being a very visual director. Yes. Here's the thing.
He got his start in music videos.
Yes. But, you could say the same thing about Michael Bay.
I feel similarly about Michael Bay movies.
So okay, but I guess maybe not.
I probably feel more negatively on the whole about Michael Bay movies than I do about Zack Snyder movies. So I don't know what that says.
I will say that he makes movies that I am willing to go back and watch again. However, that's not going to be the case for Army of the Dead. I don't want to watch this movie again. The reason why I wanted to bring up his stylistic pedigree is that this movie looks like ass. The very specific reason is because he decided to use both high-tech technology that is current today. He used 8K RED cameras, but then he decided, stylistically, let's do something fun and interesting because I don't want to be like every other director out there. I'm going to use high-exposure lenses from the 60s that are slightly broken and use that to make nearly every other scene out of focus in an already bland environment of the desert.
Yeah.
So I can give off that dreamlike quality while also putting dead pixels on everyone's TV screens.
Love it.
There's dead pixels
Is
in
that
this
not
movie.
just your TV?
It's in every screening of this movie because that happened while they were filming. Like, you can't edit it out.
That's not good.
And coming from a guy who's had to edit out a lot of mistakes on this show over the course of the time that we've...
Probably some in this episode.
Hey, we don't have to bring that up. But yeah, not to mention your out of focus camera, man. I love you. The story involves a mercenary putting together a team to pull off a heist and withdraw $200 million from a vault in an overrun Las Vegas after an outbreak occurs. Now, the reason zombies exist in this universe is because the US government made them, and then it gets derailed because a guy was getting blown on the side of the road, and an army truck flips over, and they escape and overrun just Las Vegas and not the rest of the United States. So they quarantine all of Las Vegas. It gets a whole thing. It's basically the land of the dead.
Yeah.
Ironically. And so Dave Bautista is a former mercenary who lost everything except for his daughter, who's now estranged, and is the worst, dumbest character, like dumber than every character in Alien Covenant combined, who basically gets most of the... No, I won't say it. It's dumb. It's illogical. There's a disconnect between how characters act and react, and twist endings for certain character storylines don't make any sense because of the way that the film is edited, and there's huge details of the storyline that are missing or unexplained. Like, some of the zombies are robots for some reason.
Nice.
And
gotta get those robo zombies in.
All of this to say, I think you can get the general idea of how I feel about the movie. All of this to say, the only reason that I can considerably think of them, like, explaining this is through the prequel movie that they already have greenlit, or the animated series that is going to come out as well. So there's already a prequel movie and an animated series.
Oh my god, the prequel movie thing is so fucking dumb. Just make the movie.
It's
just like, why would you do? Oh man, that's really dumb.
I will say that it's being directed by the character who it's going to be centered around, who is the best character of Army of the Dead, which is the German vault guy who he knows how to pick locks and stuff. So he's actually the fun, like, interesting character. But I
don't get the concept of, okay, we have a movie, it's not even out yet. Let's green light a prequel. Like, green lighting a sequel is one thing. It's like, okay, you have faith in whoever's in charge of this, their ability to get this to be successful on some level. A prequel means that you've already established some sort of story feasibly
that you're leaving out,
that you've just left out.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm already thinking, well, that's not important.
Yeah.
If your main movie is this one, and you've already thought of a prequel before that one even comes out, why would I want to watch this one if I could just wait for the prequel to watch that first? I don't know. It's really...
No, I completely agree. It makes absolutely no sense narratively, and I don't know why they do it. It would make sense if they greenlit the prequel after this movie came out.
Correct.
That would make a little bit more sense.
Like 1 or 2 years, like, if you give it some time, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
But if you're still in production and going like, oh man, I got a sweet idea for a prequel.
Yeah.
Well,
and a tie-in
now
series.
you're just telling me that I shouldn't have any faith on the resolution of your movie currently.
With characters who meet unfortunate ends in this movie returning for that prequel and or tie-in series. So you know the fates of these characters, but I guess I'll watch more content with them in it.
Yeah.
The only upside to these other projects is that Zack Snyder is not involved in a directorial capacity or cinematography capacity. I really want to word that. I didn't like the movie. It's been getting pretty decent reviews from most people who are smart, I guess, and turned their brains off when they realized they were watching a zombie movie directed by Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder, yeah.
But like, I went into it hoping that it was going to be something more, and I ended up leaving disappointed. Luckily, I didn't spend my money and watch it in theaters like we are fortunate enough to have the ability to do, because theaters in our area were screening this a week prior. I didn't do that, and I'm glad I didn't.
You just watched it on Netflix.
On HBO Max. Or no, Netflix, you're right.
Netflix.
On Netflix. Yeah, so... And it's too fucking long, which is another point I'll bring into another movie that we talked about before we started recording. It's too long. It's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah.
That's pretty on brand for Snyder, though. That's
yeah,
not
we
surprising.
literally are, 2 months out of his 4-hour epic Justice League movie. So.
But I mean, even that Dawn of the Dead movie, I think that runtime was like 220 or something.
I'll look it up.
And then 300 was similar, around the same time frame, I believe. So yeah, I think it's just
Dawn of the Dead 2004 was an hour 41 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
he played it close to the chest, probably because he wasn't.
He wasn't in the cutting room.
Known.
Yeah, he wasn't in the cutting room. That's why. And then 300?
Yeah,
that was an hour 57 minutes. That's 2 hours.
Okay, all right. So Watchmen was the impetus of making his films longer.
And even then, like, that was before. Like, his director's cut was 3.5 hours long, and the original theatrical cut was 2 hours and 40 minutes long. To Watchmen. I'm going off the top of my head, but like, I was working at the movie theater when that came out. 2 hours 42 minutes.
Nice. Sucker Punch was after that, correct?
Yes, it was. That was in 2011. No, that was Guardians of Ga'Hoole. Sucker Punch was 2000. Oh no, it was 11. Man, I'm on fire, kind of. But I'm second guessing. That was an
Somebody
hour.
put about.
It was an hour and 50 minutes. Sucker Punch.
Okay, so he reined it in a little bit.
Well, I guarantee you the movies,
it was so bare bones.
The movies that are less than 2 hours, I guarantee you, were the studios going, what the like? It was Warner Brothers going, what the fuck are you? No, dude, cut this down. Cut this down. I remember Sucker Punch having a lot of deleted scenes.
Yeah.
So, long story short, Zack Snyder, come on, reel it in. Like, you can make visually fantastic works of art. I'm on the camp that your Justice League looks fantastic, all right? I'm sure if we went back to the review, we would have had different opinions, but I mean, visually, we can all agree that all of your movies are very well shot and very well composited, and you can direct the hell out of a camera and or actor. But just rail in the runtime, rail in the fucking ridiculous plot lines, because you wrote this too, motherfucker. There are so many plot holes, like the fact that the entire plot doesn't have to exist if the villain character had just like been honest with them and told them the actual thing that they needed. Sorry, spoiler alert, but let's move on to a movie that I actually enjoyed.
Okay.
Because we have 2 more movies. So I watched.
So you're gonna end it on a bad note.
Oh, okay. No, well then I'll flip it back. Let's go back to let's return back to movies that are far too long. Let's talk about Cruella, which just came out yesterday.
Yes. It's a premiere access and
in theaters.
Movie theater.
Yeah. So I went to go see it in theaters, and boy howdy, is it too fucking long. There is a stylistic choice to set it in the 1970s London fashion scene, which, cool. All right, you want to do something different, I understand. They don't do a lot with tying it into the original animated movie or even the Glenn Close movies.
That's the big thing I've heard, is that it's kind of like a different world.
An alternate universe type thing. Yeah. It's kind of more Cinderella live action than it is Maleficent live action.
See, I've kind of heard the opposite.
Maybe I'm thinking opposite. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've seen the other live action movies, or the Aladdin live action movie, where it's not. It's like an alternate take.
Yeah.
As opposed to just being a shot for shot remake. Cinderella was a shot for shot remake. I remember that specifically. Yeah. But they're using characters from the 101 Dalmatians animated movie to tell a new story. They both start with Emma Thompson and Emma Stone knock it out of the park. I think Emma Thompson is a fantastic villain in this. You don't see her play a lot of villainous roles, but when she does play a villainous role, it's fantastic. Yeah. And she chooses scenery as well. I think Emma Stone kind of laid it on a little bit thick with her evilness, but I think because it's a Disney movie, you kind of have to just like let that part go a little bit. It's supposed to be a little bit cheesy because kids are watching this. Although, here's the thing. This movie's dark.
I've seen one thing on Twitter, and it was the opening scene of
with
her mom.
With her on the edge. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. That's a...
Well, it's a way to start, I guess.
It's a choice.
I mean, it's not only just from a story perspective, it's also just, it's a darker, grittier movie. Like, it's very muted tones. It's a lot of grays and blacks and whites, which I think, of course, is on purpose because that's the whole, like, color aesthetic of Dalmatians and just Cruella. And I think what they do with trying to form this origin story of Cruella de Vil is they take kind of a story from what wouldn't have been a Cruella de Vil origin story and use that as a template. And you get that feeling throughout the entire movie. Sorry. But there's... I don't know. I just felt like when I was watching it all the way through, I felt like it was just constantly missing something. Like it was missing magical wonder. Like maybe
did it feel like it was missing something, or did it feel unnecessary?
It definitely feels unnecessary. I felt that about every live action adaptation of their movies. I had fun watching it. It's not a bad movie. All right, the acting overall is great. I can't remember that actor's name. I have to look up who plays because they're the two henchmen, Jasper and
Horace
are great. Cruella. Top of the boards everywhere. It's the new hit movie. Paul Walter Hauser is fantastic. He was in I, Tonya and oh shit, I clicked the wrong thing. Black Klansman and Richard Jewell and To Five Bloods.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's great. Although his British accent is terrible, but he's great. And Mark Strong and Joel Fry. Yeah, so I think everyone does great, but I still feel like overall finishing off the movie, it just felt like unnecessary. And I know that if it makes enough money, especially going into this Memorial Day weekend, especially because it's Memorial Day weekend, and especially because people haven't gone to the movies in a long time, and people are feeling more and more open to go see movies, it's going to make a lot of bank, and so they're going to greenlit either a sequel or the next adaptation, which Emma Stone has been, like, poking news outlets to say, hey, let's make an Ursula origin movie, and I'm like, who fucking cares, though? And it's underwater, so it's less realistic.
Like, she wants to play Ursula?
No, she wants an Ursula origin movie. I read it in an interview that she wants that to be the next origin movie. It's exactly what Sony is fucking doing with these origins for Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery.
Spider-Man movies, yes.
And like we got the news this week that Aaron Taylor Johnson is going to play Kraven the Hunter, and that's a whole other can of worms of like him already being in it. Like, just can we move on to? Sorry, I got dust and hair everywhere. Fucking cats. Get cats, but like make sure that they don't have long hair. You gotta shave them every now and then. Anyway, I'm off the rails. I just want to talk about the movie I actually enjoyed. Fuck. The unnecessary movies are gonna always exist. Unnecessary sequels, unnecessary remakes, all of that. They pad the entire movie slate for the entire year. Otherwise, we would have 10 movies a year, and granted they would all be unique and interesting and creative, but there wouldn't be a lot of stuff to watch.
Right.
That's the downside. I feel like I didn't waste my time with the movie except for its length. I feel like it could have been shorter. But other than that, if you're a Disney fan, I would say watch it. If you have really young kids, I would say that they're probably not going to enjoy it as much. But it is an interesting take on a character that I never thought would necessarily need an origin story, and still don't. So,
Oh, there you go.
yeah,
Probably the best outcome you could have hoped for coming out of it.
exactly.
But what's your
A Quiet Place Part 2. Let's talk about A
movie?
Quiet Place Part 2.
Okay.
Shut up. So, first off, I want to put a full disclaimer. I don't have to say this, but I'm going to say it because I felt like I let myself down. And if I don't belittle myself on a daily basis, then my ego goes through the roof.
Sure.
And my head gets bigger than it already is.
And you don't want it to pop
No.
like that Mario Party game.
Yeah. Wow, that was a very deep cut.
Well,
That was like
if you
Mario
know.
Party 2.
I think there's different variations of it.
Whatever, man. Come on. Nobody plays Mario Party anymore.
Don't tell that to my wife. She
Yeah.
loves that game.
She'll invite me over. She'll
Yeah,
she'll
I'll
knock
force
me
you to
out.
play Mario Party.
Yeah, I don't. Come on, get another game to be attached to. So if I don't say this for my ego and belittle myself, I'll feel like a less of a man.
No, you'll feel too much like a man.
Too much like a man. You're right. You're right. It's sorry. Ego and masculinity are for some reason tied in, woven into one another.
Yes.
In today's society. We've
Weird
derailed.
Weird train. Just talk about the damn movie.
Sorry. What I wanted to say was that I was nodding off because I had just gotten off of work, and so there were parts that I feel bad that I had missed because I was enjoying the movie. Anyway, movie is great. Quiet Place Part 2 takes place immediately after Quiet Place. I guess we can call it Part 1 for this conversation. Although the movie starts off taking place on day 1 of when everything actually starts to like blow up and fall apart and everything. But then
that was in the trailers. I think.
yes, previews. Yeah. But yeah, it quickly transitions from the very beginning to immediately after they blow off the head of the one alien in the first part.
Yeah.
What I love about this movie the most is that it not only sets the exact same standard as the first movie, giving you exactly what you got from the first movie, so you know the expectation to have. The same creative team behind the camera and in front. But it also raises the stakes by introducing new characters, new environments, and leaves you with questions not only from the beginning of this movie, but also from the end. It begs the question of like, all right, when I went into, and that was really the only complaint I had whenever the credits started rolling was, I didn't know this was like part 2 of X.
Yeah.
I thought this was probably going to be a 2-part like duology,
Yeah.
but it is very much a part 2 of 3 or part 2 of 4. And while I am glad that there will be more, I'm also disappointed that I'm going to have to wait, much like everyone else who's going to leave the theater.
Yeah, well, it's also scary, too, because the longer something goes on, the more chances you have of ruining it. So.
Well, and the thing is, this movie almost was made without John Krasinski's involvement whatsoever. Like, he had a story treatment for part 2 when he was finishing part 1, and it's the same case for this movie, where he has a story treatment for part 3, but he's not exactly enticed to return. I don't think it's because he's burned out by this work that he's created, because he's getting a lot of praise from not only the people who go see the movies, but from his fellow directors and writers. Like, I'm seeing on Twitter everyone who's like, dude, go see this fucking movie, because it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, if you enjoyed A Quiet Place Part 1, then you will enjoy this, because it is more. It's I think, is it Cillian or Cillian? Did we ever Cillian Murphy?
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Because Cillian sounds too silly.
No, it is Cillian.
It is Cillian? Damn it.
Yeah, Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy of Peaky Blinders, the Dark Knight trilogy.
Batman Begins.
No, that's a Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah, I know.
Is introduced as this character who knew them from day one, that has been separated and has kind of lost everything. And I think he's a great foil to kind of not replace John Krasinski's character, because if you haven't watched the first movie, he doesn't meet a happy ending by the end of that movie. I think he's a great foil for the other characters. I think the brutality that the brutality of some of the no, I don't want to spoil anything because it literally just came out. Some bad things happen to the characters that cause them to have bumps throughout the journey of the film.
That is probably the most decent way to put that.
It's the most generic, basic. Yeah. No.
You could also just say the characters run into some troubles.
Yeah. Do they overcome it? Who knows? Like I said, it's part 2 of X. I don't know. I think that it'll end up being like a trilogy or quadrilogy. Who knows? But
yeah, the question that's being begged is how big is the Blu-ray box set after all is said and done?
Exactly. I don't think this is going to be a series that they are going to overdo. I don't think. But it all depends on how much I think John Krasinski and the original writers from the first movie are going to be involved throughout the series. Because, I mean, you could look at series like, I'll use a horror series to kind of parallel, use as a parallel example, but like the Saw series, when Leigh Whannell and James Wan, walked away from it after Saw 2, it quickly devolved into, let's just do this movie every year.
Same thing.
It's become a tradition. I don't think that this will be that, but I can quickly see how there will be limitations to the world in this franchise. Because there's not new. No, that's not true. You've played The Last of Us?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't want to compare it to Last of Us Part 2. But both of these films are very much the Last of Us movies. I mean, that's what they are.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's if you haven't already compared a Quiet Place Part 1, like before this movie ever came out or was even announced, although I think it was announced like when the first movie came out. If you never compared A Quiet Place Part 1 to The Last of Us, you were doing this movie both a disservice and a service. One
of the two.
Well, before they even announced that the Last of Us TV show on HBO was going to be a thing, I thought like this is going to be the best example of what they can do for Last of Us. What they do moving from Part 1 to Part 2, both for the game The Last of Us and for the movie A Quiet Place, is that they raise the scale and the stakes, and while also introducing new characters and twists. And I think that they're both good.
There's a reason it has a part 2.
Yeah.
And that it's a continuation of the general story and not so much here's a new problem.
Right. And it's interesting because you don't really have a main character either. It's about several different characters. And so you have this... I don't want to say too much because like when I left the movie, I was just like, I'm going to have to wait for Part 3. And I remember having that exact same feeling whenever I finished Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
Which is just Last of Us Part 2, when that ended.
Oh, Last of Us, okay.
As well as A Quiet Place Part 2, where I'm like, I don't know how many parts are going to be a part of this, but I want to know more about the world. I want to know more about the characters and like, will they meet a conclusion? Whether it be happy or sad, I just want the whole story in my face hole right now.
Yeah.
And the reason I keep comparing it to that game series is because of the similarities between them.
Yeah.
I
think it makes sense.
I mean, just there's just a lot of similarities. But going back to just the movie, let's focus on the movie. It's good. It's good.
Well, that's what you want.
Yes.
Was it worth having to wait over a year? No, a year.
Yeah, a year, because it was supposed to come out almost exactly this time last year. Yes.
Nice. Well, that's good. That's what you want to hear.
Hopefully that means that they are closer to finishing the story treatment for Part 3, and that we'll be able to get it consumed into our eye mouths even sooner.
Ugh. Don't like that.
Sorry, I kind of like devolved and scrambled around A Quiet Place, but I think I spent a lot of my energy on all the other shit that I watched because it was
a lot.
I did watch a lot. For the amount of time that I had over the last 2 weeks, which was not that much, I did spend a lot of it watching TV. And there's a lot of great TV and a lot of great movies out there. If you're vaccinated and if you feel safe enough, I still highly recommend wearing a mask going into the theaters. Cinema, a lot of movie theaters news came out the other day that they're going to be lifting their mask mandate for customers very soon. I still highly recommend you wear a mask, but if you are vaccinated and you feel safe, then go out to the movie theaters, support the film directors that you enjoy watching their content. I think A Quiet Place is a great movie to start with. But with that being said, yeah.
Yeah.
But this has been Lights, Camera, Nonsense, keeping you updated despite our best efforts. What did you think of our reviews? Did you think that we were wrong and you were incorrect, and that A Quiet Place Part 2 sucked and Cruella is the best movie of 2021 so far? Please let us know down in the comments, or you can email us at lightscameranonsense.com. Or message us, or I don't give a fuck. You do whatever. Make sure to tune in every week for all the latest news, reviews, and what else, Zach?
How do you do?
Sexier every week. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.